Hello and welcome, and thank you for purchasing my course. We will be programming C++ on Linux Ubuntu. It does not matter if you do not have the Ubuntu operating system, as we will be installing the Ubuntu operating system on a virtual machine. A virtual machine is a piece of software that mimics the hardware and firmware of a computer. This basically allows you to run an operating system in your current operating system, such as Windows for example. Virtual machines are unrelated to your real computer, and anything you do in them will not affect your real machine, so this is a completely safe environment. After we install the Ubuntu operating system as a virtual machine, we will then run it and install the software that is required for this course. Let's now begin. Hello guys and welcome. So we're going to be installing Ubuntu on a virtual machine now. A virtual machine is basically emulating computer hardware, so you can run other operating systems from within Windows. This is completely safe to do, and just follow what I do. So firstly, we're going to need some emulation software for us to install Linux. So get this software called VirtualBox. We're going to download that now. Type VirtualBox on Google and just download VirtualBox for Windows. Just go to the downloads, Windows hosts, press Windows hosts in the downloads and save file, and wait till it downloads. This should be quick if you have a fast internet connection. Okay, so when that's downloaded, open up the file, and this will be the installer, and we can install VirtualBox from there. So remember, VirtualBox is what will run our Ubuntu operating system, because obviously we don't want to install Ubuntu on your main computer, do we? Because I'm pretty sure you like having Windows. So we're going to be installing it in this VirtualBox, which is completely safe and isolated from your real computer. So just follow the setup, just press next, and then you can keep the file location the same, it's not a problem. Just press next for all of those and then press yes, and then install, and then it'll just take you through the setup. You might see that black box pop up, just ignore it, it's fine, it's just installing VirtualBox. Okay guys, I did stop the recording just because I didn't want you guys to sit through that entire download installation just then. So after you've installed VirtualBox, you just press finish, and then this should load VirtualBox. You'll probably have a little shortcut on your desktop too. So this is VirtualBox, okay? So now that you have that, we need to get the Ubuntu ISO file. Okay, so type in Google Ubuntu, click that. So this is ubuntu.com. Go to downloads, and I want you to download Ubuntu desktop. So click Ubuntu desktop, and we'll get Ubuntu 16.04. Press download. It'll ask you if you want to donate. Just scroll down and press not now, take me to the download. Okay, and then it should download. So save it. This is a fairly large file, 1.5 gigabytes, so depending on your connection speed will depend on how long it takes for you to install this. And so when that's installed, we'll come back. So now you should have downloaded Ubuntu, the ISO file. So now that's downloaded, go back to Oracle VirtualBox Manager and press New. And now it's going to ask you to name your operating system. We're just going to call it Ubuntu. And make sure you select the type as Linux. Okay, press next. And here it's going to ask you the amount of RAM you want in megabytes allocated to the virtual machine. So this is the amount of virtual memory for your virtual machine. So you know how you have RAM in a computer? Well, this is the amount of RAM you're giving to this virtual machine. It'll only use it when the virtual machine runs. So if you have quite a lot of RAM, then use a gigabyte or more, which is 1024 megabyte. But if you don't have a lot of RAM, then use 512 megabyte. I suggest 1024 megabyte if you can meet those needs. So press next, and then it'll ask you to create a virtual hard disk. So press create a virtual hard disk now, and then press create. Okay, and then you'll see this dialog. So just press next, and then you'll see another dialog. Just press next again, and then finally it'll ask you where you want to store this virtual hard disk. So press this little directory icon here, this little folder, and I'm going to store mine in the D drive, but you can store yours wherever you like, it doesn't matter where. And then you'll see this file name here. This is where this virtual hard disk is going to be stored. So then press create. Brilliant. And now you'll see your little virtual machine here. So press start on your virtual machine. Select your virtual machine and press start, and then it'll load your virtual machine. And it'll ask you to select a startup disk. Okay? So press this folder icon here, this directory, and then go to your downloads where you downloaded Ubuntu earlier on, and just select that disk image file and press open. Finally press start. If you go to view and full screen mode, you'll be able to see it more clearly, but it's entirely up to you. I'm going to keep it as a smaller screen just for the sake of this tutorial. So if you've done everything successfully, you'll see that it is loading Ubuntu. This is the install file for Ubuntu, and we'll be installing Ubuntu on this virtual machine. This does take a while. So then you'll see this nice little install screen. Just press install Ubuntu. Okay, and then press continue. And then press erase disk and install Ubuntu. This will not erase your real hard drive. Remember, this is a virtual machine and the computer sees this as a separate machine. So when you press erase disk and install Ubuntu, it only erases the virtual disk that we made a few minutes ago. This does not erase your real hard drive. So press install now while erase disk and install Ubuntu is selected. And then you'll see this little dialog. Just press continue. And it'll ask you to select where you are. So I'm in United Kingdom, so London is selected for me. And just press continue. It's important this is accurate so that your keyboard maps correctly to where you are, okay? It'll ask you which keyboard layout you want, and here you can write some messages just to check that the keyboard layout is correct. So if it's correct, just press continue. And now it's going to ask who you are, okay? So just enter your name. Okay, and then it'll ask you for a password. So enter the password you want and press login automatically. Make sure you press login automatically because it's just going to be a pain for you to have to log in every single time. But it's important that you remember this password, so please write it down. Press continue. Okay, good. And now it'll just copy the files from the virtual disk that you loaded to the virtual hard disk that we created. And this can take a while, so pause the video until it's completed. Okay guys, so the installation should now be complete, and all you need to do now is press restart now. This will then restart your virtual machine, and we will then be able to boot into our new operating system. So just press enter. When it tells you to do that, just press enter. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go up to view, full screen mode, and press switch. And we can get out of this at the bottom here. You'll see this little dialog. Okay, so now if you didn't press login automatically, you'll have to enter a password. So just enter in your password here. And this is Ubuntu. Well done, you've now installed the Ubuntu operating system on your virtual disk. So load Firefox here in the corner, the Firefox web browser, and we're going to download the Visual Code text editor, which is what we'll be doing the tutorials in. So go to Google, and just type Visual Code here, and you'll see code.visualstudio.com. Just download it from there. You can also install Ubuntu on your real machine if you wish, but I suggest you follow a guide on doing that because it can be unsafe if you do it wrong. And basically you burn the ISO file we downloaded onto a disk, and then you boot from the disk. If you install it on your computer, you can keep your old operating system as well, which is quite handy. So on the Visual Code website, you'll see this download button. So you see debianubuntu.deb, just press that. And then it'll say thanks for downloading VS Code for Linux. So this should now load the download link, but if it doesn't, just press this, try this download link there. And then you'll see this dialog, just press open. And then press OK. Okay. So when you've done that, it should load Ubuntu Software Center. Okay, and then you'll see this dialog. Just press install, and it'll say installing. It'll ask for your password here, so enter the password that you set up Ubuntu with, and press authenticate. Okay, so now it's installed it. So now we're going to create a new folder on your desktop. So right click on your desktop and press new folder. And we're just going to call it project. Okay, now press this little icon at the top here, this Ubuntu icon, and it'll say search your computer, and just search for Visual Code. And you'll see Visual Code here, Visual Studio Code, so just click that. Okay, so this is Visual Studio Code, and in here we'll be doing our majority of our projects, well, all of our projects really. So I'm just going to close that and reopen it slightly. Okay, good. So when this is loaded, you'll be able to select your project directory, your project folder. So to do that, press this little file icon here and press open folder. And go to your desktop, you'll see the desktop by here, and select your project folder and press OK. Okay, wicked. So before we end this lecture, I'm going to show you how to open the terminal for a project directory. So open your project folder. Good. And then right click on it and press open in terminal. So this will give you this little black window for our terminal. This will give you this little black window that's called the terminal, and it is navigated to our project folder. You're going to need to know this for all other lectures. So essentially, when we compile our project, when we write our code, we need to compile it, right? So to do that, you would right click in the folder and press open in terminal, and then you would enter your commands here. So that is all you need to know for installing Ubuntu and all the tools we need. So now that you've done that, on the next lecture we'll be creating your first program. So thanks for watching.